But
I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. Anything against the Yankees, I'm for it.
so you're against. So you're definitely against the pardon, then, right?
That's right. Anything they got, they should just die.
Welcome to Third Side Convo with your host, Bob Phipps. Your panelists today are Donald Thomas, Jeff Nolan, Johnny Dunn, and Joe Boy. And now, your host, Bob Phipps.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Third Side Convo. Tonight we're going to go back in history a little bit and talk about one of the coolest and craziest powers that a president has. It's the pardon. When you're the president and you say, well, it's okay, you're off the hook, or, you can go home now, but you're still in trouble. Now, here's a quick explanation. A pardon is like hitting the delete button on your computer, on your crime. It's like it never even happened. Now, a commutation is when your punishment gets lighter or goes away, but the crime still sticks to your record. All right? You got it? Okay, now, some of these pardons are just plain wild. And did you know, George Washington, our very first president, pardoned two guys who were supposed to be hanged because they didn't like paying taxes on whiskey. Yep, whiskey was a big deal back then, and the taxes were. So, and then there's, of course, Andrew Jackson. This is a great one. He tried to save a guy from being hanged because he robbed a mail train by giving him a prison sentence instead. And the guy said, no, I don't want to go to prison, and got hanged. Or Andrew Johnson. Andrew Johnson said on Christmas Day, he goes, all the Confederate soldiers, you got a pardon. That was a good Merry Christmas for them, I'm sure. But, not all pardons are feel-good stories. Gerald Ford pardoned Nixon, which came back to kind of bite him on the butt because he pardoned him for Watergate, but a lot of people have said it cost him his job as president. And then Clinton, pardoned his own brother for drug crimes, and then guess what? He got into trouble again. Obama, of course, pardoned lots of people for, nonviolent drug crimes. Well, but the reason we're going to do that, everybody knows the reason we're looking at the past of pardons, but that's what we want to do. We want to look at the past to see what they have been done. So let's dive right into kind of like what's the origin of these pardons? And let's go in and start with some of the weird ones. So, Jeff Nolan, I want to go to you. What was the weirdest one to you that you thought?
Well, I mean, weird is a fraught word.
Okay.
I think the ones that I find the most egregious.
All right.
I think that Andrew Johnson is indefensible. I don't see how that is even remotely. In what world do you pardon the leaders of a rebellion that resulted in death? How do you do that? It's crazy, and it really set up a continuously north-south divide in this country and didn't allow Reconstruction to come to fruition. I think that's just
well, I'm happy he did. As my great-grandfather, the original R.W. Phipps, he was a colonel in the Mississippi Regiment, so I'm actually quite thankful that the Confederate soldiers got pardoned. Johnny Dunn, what do you think? What was a little bit strange to you, or maybe one you didn't even know about?
Well, I didn't know about any of those until you sent them over. And I mean, I didn't think it was weird. I actually applaud Obama for partnering nonviolent drug offenders. Actually, shockingly to everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you. That seemed to be a very reasonable one. We won't talk about the past that we've had. I guess the only past for most boomers that we talk about is thank God we didn't have cell phones back then. Don Thomas, tell me about yours. What hit you the best?
Mine is the sheriff from Arizona.
Well, but no, that was a current politician, so we're not talking about him.
No. Was that? Did he do that? I thought it was.
Oh yeah.
It was the sheriff. Okay.
We're gonna mute you on Yeah, we're going to
Yeah,
have
I
to.
didn't say the name though. I didn't say the name.
Well, you didn't say the name, but we're not referring to those. We'll deal with those pardons in another 4 years. How's that? We'll talk about those.
Okay, but that was 8 years or 4 years ago.
Tell me another one real quick. Any other one hit your fancy?
I always say one of the most famous one that I think that you just mentioned was the Nixon one. Was that hit
Yeah,
me
that was a
hard.
biggie.
Right.
That was huge. Yeah, I remember that one. I remember most boomers do remember that when they did it. Okay, Joe Boy.
I am not a boomer, so I don't remember it. But hey, I can tell you that Patty Hearst, that was a big deal because here she was committing all these crimes, but she had a reason to get her freedom because she had been through all this stuff. And so if I remember, I think it was Carter that went ahead and reduced her sentence dramatically and tried to heal the nation over the damage that was occurred and understanding why she did what she did. And then later on, I think it was Clinton that actually completely commuted and removed her sentence altogether and gave her a full pardon. And I thought that was quite interesting.
Good. All right, back to you, Jeff. What do you think we ought to talk about? Which pardons are maybe the most important? What do you want to talk about?
I think probably Ford.
Okay.
I find it fascinating. I honestly think in my heart that Gerald Ford did that with noble intentions.
Yeah.
I just think it was incredibly stupid.
It cost him the election for sure.
Well, I mean, who cares about that? I think that it just really set a precedent where you're pardoning for crimes that have not been charged, and you're kind of setting the executive
Good point.
as above the law, and that has been taken advantage of on a number of occasions ever since. And I think that if we could, there's two in my mind that if we could go back and completely undo, it would be Ford and Johnson for very different reasons. But I think that we would potentially be in a better place as a society if those two pardons were not issued.
Well, actually, I think there was some reasons for this kind of stuff. He thought he was healing the nation, but at the same time, if I remember correctly, in the Constitution, it says that a pardon cannot be issued if they had already been impeached, and he had not been impeached yet. So because he hadn't been impeached, they could pardon him then. They could not pardon him later on, and so the timing had to be there for a reason.
He hadn't been charged with a crime.
But they had started the impeachment process.
Sure. Well,
and so they needed to be pardoned for that.
Ford was president, obviously, when they pardoned him.
Correct. When they went to go start the impeachment process, he resigned, therefore slowing down the impeachment process. And then that's when Ford decided to pardon him. That way it would completely be able to be done because you cannot pardon an impeached president.
Right. But he still shouldn't. He should have let the wheels of justice grind on Richard Nixon.
Well, Johnny, do you agree that attempt, and I do appreciate what Jeff said because I do agree that he had noble intentions. Johnny, do you agree with what Ford did?
No, I agree with Jeff completely. I mean, all great relationships in this world involve communication, trust, and respect. And we see the downfall of the trust in the world right now. And it largely started in that point there. And I totally agree with Jeff. We should have let the wheels of justice spin there now. And nobody can be above the law. And I am all for that for both sides for
Absolutely.
the record, because they have destroyed.
They
want everyone to respect
I don't know about that one.
I've got plenty of
everyone to respect the institutions, but they don't deserve any respect at this point. What have they actually done besides stupid nonsense like this?
Well,
Don, you want to comment on this? Are you
go ahead, Don? Go ahead.
I am very conflicted about this, about the pardon and stuff like that. And people, you just said it. The ones who didn't even get a chance to go to trial or even get a chance for the American people to see what happened or have a chance to make their opinion after the trials is the worst ones you can do, because we still work. Remember, they still work for us. It's like any appointment. They still work for us. We're the American people. We should be allowed to make that judgment because we're the one that's been paying for his salary. We've been paying for him for all these years. And anybody that's in office, I'm a firm believer in that I owe the taxpayers my job, and I should respect them 100% because they're paying for me to be in this position. And people voted for him and all that other stuff. So they was robbed of the American people, and the society was robbed of what really happened, because the trial, it all comes out. They can say anything they want on TV and lie, but when it's in their trial, it's a different animal.
I think that may even speak to, and I may be getting ahead of myself on this conversation, but that may even speak a little bit to whether or not the pardon powers as they currently exist in the U.S. are really even make sense for an American and for the American way. It's very royal feeling. To have a unilateral, just one person decrees, on any federal charge. I mean, what would prevent this is an extreme example, extreme hypothetical, but what would prevent a bad actor in the White House from pardoning, say, a Timothy McVeigh? He had absolute power to do it. There was no.
Yeah, it almost does seem like it's a king. It's like a king off with their head. Instead of this case, it's off with their, whatever they did wrong.
And I think that's why you won't find too many pardons right before an election. It always happens after they lose. Because for some reason, if it was right before an election, there'd be kind of a problem because the people would go, they're willing to do that. Maybe I shouldn't elect them.
Yeah.
I think they should make all their pardons be before the elections for some reason.
Especially
I think
pardons are their cronies.
Yeah, but isn't there, though? But still, we said that he was noble. He was trying. In other words, isn't there a reason to pardon? We'll talk about this in the next section. But, it seems like healing the nation is a pretty good idea that we ought to do. That's what we're trying to do here on the show. It's like get together and talk about things without attacking each other, all right? So we're going to be right back with a word from our sponsor, and we will see you in a moment.
Aw, Dad, my computer's slow again and I can't play my games.
Call Your Computer Solutions today, and we will scan for viruses and clean that computer up remotely and make it fast again. Our phone number is 407-826-0810.
Thanks, Dad. My computer's fast again. Now I can do my homework. Thanks for calling Your Computer Solutions at 407-826-0810. The Tibia Show would like to thank Boggy Creek Airboat Adventures for being one of our sponsors. I got to go on an airboat and saw a real gator. I even got to go to the gem mine and mine for some gems. We ate a steak dinner at the restaurant and even got some gator bites. If you want to have a blast with the entire family, I suggest you go to www.bcairboats.com right now. Get your tickets today. The website again is bcairboats.com.
So the healing, let's see if we can have the healing begin. Part of the reason we do this show again is for healing, all right? So doesn't everybody agree, though, that was an attempt to do it? It's just like Obama did with the nonviolent drug offenders trying to, quote, heal the nation. I tend to think that's real important. Joe Boy.
Well, I actually like the healing the nation items. I think that when there's an injustice, even with the first one, when he thought, I don't think people should die because they didn't pay a whiskey tax. I think that makes sense that he's trying to right a wrong. And in this case, Obama did try to right a wrong with disproportionate Afro-Americans that were being put in jail for drug crimes. Gerald Ford, Andrew Johnson pardoning the Confederate soldiers. It wasn't just the leaders; it was all Confederate soldiers. And I think that was to say, hey, you know what? It's okay. We're going to come back together as a nation instead of always having this underlying we hate each other forever. And I think that's important, and we kind of need that every once in a while. And so I don't have a problem with the healing-based pardons at all.
Hey, any other thoughts? Okay, let's go into... Yeah, Jeff, you want to just finish on that? You're going to take back what you said. I know Joe Boy basically convinced you that was the right way to go.
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you, Jeff.
I see what Joe's saying.
There was a value there.
I think those two examples are kind of apples and oranges.
Okay.
I think that I think that, as I mentioned earlier, with Ford and Nixon, even though it under the auspices of healing the nation, I think it was misplaced. With Johnson, I don't think healing the nation was at the core of what he wanted to do. I think that Johnson was a Southern sympathizer. And the government was built very differently back then. Where like the guy who came in second is named vice president type of stuff that was going on, and I don't think that the motivations between.
Well, is your ancestry in the North, Jeff? I have to ask.
I actually had ancestors on both sides of that war.
Oh, okay. Well, that was the fun thing about the Civil War, right? You had brothers fighting each other. All right, let's talk about the controversial ones now. I think you're right. The two we talked about at least were well-intended, we'll say. Okay, let's talk about maybe the more self-serving ones. Who wants to go first on the most self-serving of the Don?
I just wanted to say on the pardons, I think, as America, I think we should always, in pardons of the presidential, should wait. They should not be able to pardon anybody until after the trial, until after the stuff is over with. And I'm a firm believer in that because that gives everybody the chance to make a judgment on that. So I think pardoning power should be limited to after the trial is over with. Then you can pardon people.
So you're more for commutations then? Commutations after the action has gone forward.
There's been recent people that haven't even went to trial yet,
right?
And they've been pardoned before they even got to trial. So
okay,
and that bothers me. That bothers me more than anything. And as like I said, I work for the American people. I work for the government,
right?
And when you work for the government, you work for the people. And even though I was at TSA, so I can't.
Okay, Johnny, give me your most self-serving one.
The Clinton pardoning his brother for distributing cocaine by far.
I would partially agree with John on that, but I would say Clinton pardoning Mark Rich.
Yeah, Mark.
Ooh, that was a good one. Tell us about Mark Rich, Jeff.
It was just so flagrant that, here is one of my big donors, one of my big friends, whose crimes were just absolutely cut and dry.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, well, here's a part. And then, the Rich family wound up being big contributors to the Clinton Library. The whole thing was just despicable.
Yeah, because he was actually, if I remember correctly, wasn't he overseas at the time? He had escaped. He had left.
He was on the lam.
Yeah, he was on the lam, but his wife was still here, and she was donating lots of money to one particular party, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I'm sure there was no quid pro quo there, right? None at all.
Yeah, a quick thing on the pardons, people got to remember, when you pardon somebody before the trial, it's a mission of guilt. It's still on you. It's guilty. You're not scot-free. You're still guilty on the pardon. People don't remember that. That still lingers. So you're still guilty of the crime.
Yeah. Yeah, that could come into play with the most recent one that we're not talking about. Johnny, do you agree? So what about the Mark Rich one? Did you know much about anything about that?
No, I mean, it's always funny that one political party says, you got to get the people to pay their taxes. And this guy's got 50 million in back taxes he's not paid, and he gets a pardon. And it's just why nobody believes any of the crap that comes out of anybody's mouth now, because nobody actually has to be responsible and held accountable. So once again, why would we ever trust anything they say ever again?
Well, wait a second. Who's they?
Who's the they?
Thank you, Jeff.
Who's the they, man? Who's the they?
They all do it.
So, we got to clarify. We all do it.
But on the taxes one, it is typically one side that says they don't pay their taxes.
Right,
but it's all of them
and there's one side that don't pay the taxes, right?
they're all. You know how I really feel. I think they're all bad.
Oh yeah. Well, but for self-serving, I wonder, whether or not Reagan was a New York Yankees fan because he pardoned George Steinbrenner.
That's what I was going to talk about.
Okay, Joe, tell us about that.
Okay, Ronald Reagan lets the head of the New York Yankees off. Now, the guy had already paid his fine. He didn't have any jail time. He only did it to remove the conviction, to remove the stigma of you're a criminal. Well, there's a lot of other people that could use that benefit than some multimillionaire that runs the New York Yankees. And I think that was
right.
kind of self-serving.
Oh, I don't know. It's only self-serving, I guess, if you're a Yankees fan or something. I don't know.
Right.
Who knows? I didn't think Reagan was that. But
I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. Anything against the Yankees, I'm for it.
So you're against. So you're definitely against the pardon, then, right?
That's right. Anything they got, they should just die.
Well, I think that speaks to a interesting
And the
point.
Dodgers. I hate both of them.
It's like a performative pardon that really accomplished nothing in a reality sense, especially considering the whole, he really faced no consequences of note anyhow, and so it just becomes almost like a backslap. It's just gross.
Yeah.
Well, you do know there's actually a website you can go to. And this website has a ton of information, and it actually is run by the federal government that lists all the pardons and all the clemencies. And there is a difference between the two. Okay?
Oh, absolutely.
A pardon completely absolves you of the crime. And a clemency only removes or reduces the sentence. You are still considered a convict of that crime. And so there's a big difference in that regard. And so the way I look at it is it needed? Is it something that the president should have? Of course. It can be very useful, especially when we're doing things in war and stuff like that. But can it be overused? Well, of course. I mean, everyone overuses stuff.
Yeah.
I think that it'll be interesting if I'm going to say if we ever find ourselves in a position where a president feels the need to pardon his or herself.
Right. That should never happen.
Gee, I wonder where we're getting that idea.
Well,
funny thing
it-
about it
idea.
is a president
it's moot
cannot
now.
pardon someone who's already been impeached.
Well,
So
Well, I will extend it to the families. You can't, anybody in your family, you can't pardon them either. Anybody, family members, cousins, anybody that's related to you. Because in the government, you can't work with your family members in the areas, so you shouldn't be able to pardon them too. So I'm probably against that. Get some other kind of way. So
yeah, well, what's funny is we'll start with it. A rumor came out or whatever, a thread came out. Somebody had obviously searched this on ChatGPT, and Esquire even wrote an article about it, that Neil Bush, George H.W. Bush's son, had been pardoned for his S&L scandal, and Billy Carter had been pardoned for the Libya $200,000. Neither of it was true, and they both had to pull the articles. But that'd been floating all around the internet over the past 48 hours. All right,
Welcome
we're going
to
to take our
AI.
next break now. Please subscribe to the show, thirdsideconvo.com, go on Facebook. This is what we're about, is trying to find out the truth of what's happening out there, because trust me, you're not going to get away with saying something that ain't right on this show. Somebody is going to go after you for that one. So we'll be right back after our brief break.
Corona Cigar Company is your one-stop shop for all your cigar needs. Whether that's a brand new humidor, a box of those new cigars you've been waiting for, a top-of-the-line cutter or lighter, a place to enjoy the finest cigars and spirits with friends, or the only cigars grown right here in the Sunshine State, we've got you covered. Come visit one of our retail locations for the ultimate cigar experience. Visit us online at coronacigar.com.
Oak Ridge Gun Range is a family-oriented shooting range that has been in business for over 30 years. They specialize in basic firearm training and offer numerous services such as consignments, gun trades, gunsmithing, and concealed weapon classes. I even got my training for gun safety at Oak Ridge Gun Range. Great customer service, and firearm safety is what they do best. So find out more at oakridgegunrange.com.
All right, let's go on and we've talked about a bunch of them today. Let's go on and kind of just see where everybody votes on up or down on these things. I think some of them we've already got a clear choice. Let's talk about the very first one. How about Washington absolutely, telling some people they don't have to hang them, even though they rebelled against the government in the Whiskey Rebellion. So Washington's first pardon, yay or nay? Don, okay, up? Yeah, give me thumbs up or thumbs down. Thumbs up? Oh,
what?
Man.
There's
That's
always
okay.
one. You want to kill people for not paying their taxes?
I'm kidding.
Hey, come on. Come on.
I'm good.
Yeah, right. Okay. What about Andrew Jackson just happy to pick a guy that had been in a mail thing and then said no, and then he got hanged anyway? Does that sound like a good thing? Hard to say. That's a hard one to vote on that.
He was robbing trains. I'm going to say no.
And he wasn't getting he wasn't getting
he was down. I give him a thumbs down.
Okay. All right, here we go. Here's the biggie. And Jeff, I didn't know you were going to be so strong on this, but I appreciate it. I actually never heard that much negative about it, but I guess that comes from the fact that my ancestors were in the Confederacy. But Andrew Johnson on Christmas Day, well after the war, decided to pardon them all. You're down on that one.
Awful.
I'm half and half, by the way, if I can get my hands on the camera.
Okay, so we've swayed you a little bit, Johnny, on that. Don, what are you? Come on, Don. Okay. All right, that's fair enough.
The soldiers, yes. The officials, no.
No, yeah, that's exactly. I'm with Johnny on that one. I'm half and half.
The soldiers really weren't like the rank and file soldiers.
The soldiers
weren't really about to get prosecuted through the. It was Jefferson Davis and the infrastructure of the Confederate government.
Right.
I'll split.
Oh, yeah, because a lot of these people, I love hearing stories about the Civil War, how they were taking immigrants straight off the ship and putting them straight in the Army. What choice do you have then, right? So, okay, so y'all are saying the rank and file you got no problem with. Jefferson Davis you definitely have a problem with. I do like Robert E. Lee, though. He's pretty cool. That's just me. Just take Davis and that's the rest of them. Okay. All right, what about Nixon's pardon, up or down?
I actually thought it was useful.
Donnie? You're going to...
Who do we say?
Nixon.
Donnie. In other words, did it heal the nation? Okay. Okay, that's well enough.
I mean, it was not successful, but I understand why they did it.
Right.
It did not heal the nation. In fact, it cost Ford his second
Joe, it
term.
sounds to me like you're a thumbs down then. The question was it well intentioned? The question was it worth doing?
Well, should it have been done? I guess is what I'm asking.
If I was in the same shoes, I would have done it. So, in hindsight, you now know the result. Fine, great, it was a bad thing, but I would have done the same thing if I was in those shoes. So, then that's why I put a thumbs up, because I would do it.
All right, what about Carter's pardon? Okay, this one's interesting. We didn't even talk about this. Jimmy Carter pardoned Peter of Peter, Paul, and Mary for a, we'll just say, illicit act with a 14-year-old.
No. I don't care how famous you are. No.
That's a down. That's a no.
Hey, don't those musicians get all the girls, Jeff? Come on now. Y'all are just cool. I've always wished I could play an instrument. Y'all are always just cool, I tell you. But you would never do that with a 14-year-old. Okay, how about the pardon of George Steinbrenner? Any value there? Yeah, I'd agree. Okay.
I sustain my vote.
All right. Okay, yeah, that's true. You're totally biased, Don. There's no way you could vote on that.
Okay, I'm going to tell you one that I actually have a problem with, and that is Bob wearing a plaid shirt while hosting a show.
Yeah, he always... Yeah,
Look at that shirt! Oh my gosh, you guys are killing me.
Well, it is the Gators, and, we have gotten a little better. We've actually won a game or two.
It makes reflections all over a camera. Guys, tell them not to wear a plaid shirt. If you're going to wear one like Jeff Nolan.
Look like the Gator chewed on that shirt.
Okay, how about Clinton's pardon, of Mark Rich?
Hell no.
That's everybody. Everybody down on that one. Come on, we got to get 4 thumbs down on that. Donnie, thumbs down on that one, right? Okay, good. Okay, got it.
Even though I love Bill Clinton, he shouldn't have done it.
Okay, now what about it? Okay, what about him? Now we got more of a self-serving one. What about when Clinton pardoned his brother Roger when he was 20 years old? He had a cocaine thing, whatever.
Nope.
Boy, y'all are a tough crowd.
I'm going down because I don't think family members should pardon anybody and get another president to do it. Family members should not have.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
It's not a big deal.
I got a quick question. I want to know what everyone thinks should be the next pardon. Anyone we think that should be pardoned? That's not a politician.
I thought we weren't talking about.
That's not a politician.
The next pardon, it's not a politician.
Should Bill Cosby be pardoned?
Hell
Good
no.
question. How about P. Diddy? No, just kidding.
I would say that the people that really deserve.
Just kidding.
I would say that the people who really deserve a pardon are almost certainly folks that none of us have ever heard of.
Yeah. The
Right.
people praying at abortion clinics are good starts.
The people what?
Yeah.
That were praying at abortion clinics should all be
Do people go
pardoned.
to prison for praying?
Yeah.
I think they go to prison for bombing.
All right.
No. They said they
Hey,
were
this was it ended up being a great show. I know that anybody watching at home and seeing us after the fact, they've learned a lot about pardons. I certainly learned a lot in getting ready for this show. It's so funny, but that's part of what we do on the third side. It's not all about finding common ground, but we found all common ground because we think Mark Rich shouldn't have been, or whatever it is. It's just piece by piece and person by person we're going to make a difference in this country. Thank you so much for listening to Third Side Convo. Please, again, subscribe. Check us out on YouTube. And just have a great time. Next week, by the way, we're going to look at a little bit about the future of DEI. So you're going to want to be around for that one. So we will talk to you later, and everybody have a great week and a wonderful holidays. Thank you all.